Guess what? Following through is probably the one thing that you're missing in order to achieve your goals, your dreams, to get unstuck. Following through. You have a thought, you get an idea, you get a little motivated watching some shit on YouTube or on socials. It inspires you, and then poof, it's gone. Back to the normal, right? So what will it take for you to follow through? What worked for me is getting out of my thinking mind, right? And taking action. When you take action and you start doing things, you set some non-negotiables first thing in the morning, it's game on. But you have to be willing to follow through. You have to be willing to set the bar kind of low at first. And I think that's where most people's ego, it won't let you go there. You feel like, nah, that's dumb. Going to the gym once for 5 minutes, that's so stupid. That's what it's going to take some of you if you ain't been to the gym in a hot minute. But I can tell you, every time I go to the gym, I may not feel like going to the gym, but I understand the benefits. I know what it does for me. And I find encouragement along the way. I love talking to older men, 60s, 70s, 80-year-old dudes still getting after it. And they're all impressed with me and the strength that I bring to the table. And I'm like, I appreciate that. But I don't think they understand what an inspiration they are for me, because I can tell you, 10 years ago, 36 years old, I had let it go. I thought I was going to die in my sleep. I was grossly overweight. An old friend of mine had planted it in my head that somehow weights were a bad thing. You know, it's the worst exercise. And it's like, culturally, we go through all these new trends and everyone's looking for a get fit fast trend. And it's just like, weights have stood the test of time. Whether it was picking up boulders or water jugs, right? Or pushing iron. They've always stood the test of time. And yet, when I find that inspiration from someone that's double my life, right? It inspires me. I know that I inspire a lot of you. Maybe you're in your 20s, maybe you're in your 30s. I'm telling you, it's so important to maintain your fitness. Because I can tell you, I got married when I was 19 years old. I was in the military, got married really young, and the military helped me to stay fit. But once that was over, I struggled. I struggled maintaining that routine. I started to get complacent. I started to feel that, oh, look at me, checking all the boxes, got the wife, right? Got the house, gonna have the kids, the picket fence, life is perfect. Now what? What now? What do I need to do now? And I lost my edge. I lost my motivation for life. I thought it was over. I thought, oh man, it's all downhill, just a little maintenance. No, that's not true. Because the bottom dropped out. The bottom dropped out. I self-destructed. And I had let myself go. And I'll tell you a quick story. This happened after I hit my domestic violence arrest, rock bottom moment, which really is at the beginning of this 12 plus year journey. And, you know, I was sitting there, I was working in the beer industry. That was the irony of this situation, is I was working in the beer industry. I was miserable. I really felt like a failure because it was coming off of 08, 09 when the economy fell off the cliff. I lost everything. So I know what it is to not even just lose myself, lose a 21-year marriage. I've lost everything materially. I've even lost myself along the way from time to time. But that's a good thing. Why do I say it's a good thing? Because the truth is, I never lost the true and authentic version of myself. And if you're someone that feels like you're losing who you are, it's because you're pretending on who you are. And so, yeah, I believe God's gonna pull that away from you. And that's what he did with me. And so that was such a huge loss. I felt like I was really starting to get some traction in life, getting very successful in my own right. And when the economy fell off the cliff, I chalked up a huge loss. And I had to pack up my kids. My son was only 3 months old. He's 15 now. So he's like the watermark, 08, 09. And I left my dream home, having a business in Southern California, having to shut everything down and tail between the legs and move back here to my home state of New Mexico and start over. And I had just gotten my second DWI. And I was at a low, man. The thing was, though, is that I kept on self-medicating, suffering in silence. I hadn't asked for help yet. And yet, my situation just kept getting worse and worse and worse. Until finally, I remember sitting there at a VFW bar and just smashing pitcher after pitcher. I mean, they would overserve big time, especially because I was on the board and all that shit. And my wife was wanting to know about going to dinner, and it was literally right down the street from where I was at. And I was so inebriated and just numbed out that I didn't respond. Fast forward later, that she walks into the VFW, makes a big scene. And we just argue the whole way home, and we get into it. 2 days later, I was arrested for domestic violence. And clearly, coming off of that, I got thrown divorce papers. I got thrown, criminal charges for the domestic and restraining order. So I had to get a whole legal team to cover my ass after that thing happened. And I don't say this proud. I say this to be honest with you all, so you know what I've been through. Because I can own my shit. And in many ways, I've transcended that. Me and my ex-wife have an actual pretty solid connection. You know, I have a goal to retire her at some point, right? And I just, there's no beef right there. And it's because of my leadership. If you're a man listening to this that's divorced, be a leader. There's a lot of dudes that get fucked over in the family court system. I happen to not be one of them. But I understand a lot of men that have. And yet, I just want to encourage you to take the high road every step of the way. Be the best version of you. And that's a hard thing because you feel victimized. You feel like you're getting fucked over. And in many ways you are. You are getting that. But why should you respond by not rising above it, rising beyond it? And so I was talking about following through, and I'm glad that stuff comes up. Things come up, right? I'm sitting here before I get on these videos. If you're new here or you've been tuning in, you know, I literally go to God in a meditative state. I say, man, give me a message. Like, help me to share a message with the audience here and, you know, the channel. Like, what do people need to hear? And so I'm grateful for that. You know, someone that reached out recently made a comment that felt like we were good friends. And to me, that's incredible feedback. And I believe it's because I'm authentic, because I'm being genuine. And, you know, a lot of people can get some of the message taken out of context when they only see the 60-second clip, but it's probably triggering a part of them that they're just like, you know, in denial about. But I was talking about following through, and I had this incredible encounter after going through all that. So me and my wife separated following that domestic for 10 months. We actually reconciled for 7 years. I'll save that story for another day. But we were separated for 10 months, and I was working in the beer industry, and I had this, I knew that my time had come to get sober, to do it the right way, give up the drink, and to really just step into a better version of myself. And I remember I was still working in the beer industry. I was like stocking a store early morning on a Monday, and there, you know, just the people coming in, you know, was just really pulling at my heartstrings, man. Seeing like, you know, moms buying their alcohol at like, I'm talking like 8, 9 o'clock in the morning, man. And I just felt like this is a contradiction to who I am. And there's a lot of you that are afraid of that. You're in a situation that doesn't align with your true values, and you're afraid to leave it, to vacate that because of fear of the unknown. And I'm here to tell you that you're only going to continue to put yourself through more stress, more suffering, and really a deterioration of your quality of life if you hold on to that. There's been a lot of times that I've had to let go of things that I knew were misaligned. Relationships are another one, and relationships are jobs too. If things are misaligned with who you truly are. And so I found myself walking away from that industry and just setting myself free. The fear of the unknown was absolutely there. I didn't know how I was gonna survive. You know, I was separated from my ex at the time, and I had one source of income, but, you know, it was so interesting that I literally just surrendered to God and humbled myself. I was willing to do whatever it took to get through that season. People would call me and say, hey man, you want to help me do like some hard ass laborious work? And I never questioned it. I was like, yeah, heck yeah, man, I'll help you out. I'm all about it. And maybe you need to have that mindset. A lot of us, we think we're too good for shit. And it's like, some of the most humbling things have led to some of the biggest opportunities of my life. And I think that's a real interesting thing, is like the resistance you're feeling, the fear you're feeling to take a step and to move forward in life. It's like you're stuck because you're thinking instead of just doing. Just see what happens. Have some faith, have some courage, have some confidence. If you don't have it here, I'll give it to you. I'll give you enough confidence to just see what happens. That's accountability too, you know, when you reach out and ask for help. You got someone that's going to hold you accountable, and you can utilize their confidence until you've developed your own. So I leave the beer industry and I'm doing odd jobs, and it finally dawned on me that I got some benefits to go back to school and finish my college degree from the VA. And so I do. I start going back to school, taking classes. And one of the first classes that I'm in, there's this old lady. She was hard of hearing, and it was literally a group communication class. And everyone was real short with her because, you know, it was all pretty youthful, younger like adults. And she was just real hard of hearing, always asking extra questions, and everyone would get a little annoyed by her. She was real sweet, and I would always kind of sit by her. And I remember just creating a connection with her mutually. And one day she asked me, she's like, hey, I know how to read handwriting. I didn't know what she was talking about. And she's like, will you write something down? I want to read your handwriting. And I said, okay. So I write my name down, right? G-R-E. And then the G I did is like a G that has the hook, right? And she looks at it and she says, right there, you are so close. She said, you are so close. You're closer than you think to truly aligning yourself with success, with anything you desire. And I was like, what? And so she said, can I see your pen? And I said, yeah. So she grabs the pen and she goes back to the G with the hook, and she goes where the hook ends, and she literally follows it through. And she's like, that's all you have to do. She's like, if you would just follow through, you're unstoppable. And so I'm telling you that same thing right here, right now. You need to follow through. If you've been telling yourself you're going to do something, follow through. Overcome the fear. Face the fear. A lot of this shit, you get it out of your head, you write it down. That's one of the greatest tools that I use on a daily basis, is writing things down. I start every day with gratitude. I start every day reflecting on things I did good and things I could do better from yesterday. And then I write 3 things that matter to me. And that's what helps me to set an intention for the day. And do I always get it right? No. But that doesn't mean that that I just give up, that I just ignore it. What are you ignoring right now and avoiding, facing, that if you faced it, if you could find the courageous version of who you are, which is there's a brave, courageous superhero version inside of you. I'm talking to a part of that right now. And all you have to do is think back to a time that you had to step up in a big way. We've all had those times where it was like, whoa, we had to demonstrate courage. Every human has had to demonstrate some level of courage throughout their life to face something. Oftentimes it's not by our desire to do it. Life presents unplanned circumstances that require you to step into that courageousness. And the beautiful thing is when you can channel that and you can start to cultivate it and develop it and identify yourself with it, versus identifying yourself with the victim, identifying yourself as the addict, identifying yourself as the failure, identifying yourself as someone that's too old, or your time is past and you need to just settle and mail it in. And it's like, all of those are lies. They're lies. Someone was talking yesterday about how, I'm going to agree with you. If you say you can't do it, you say it's too hard, you say it's too difficult, and that it's never going to change, okay. But I've also talked to the person that says, I can do it, I'm willing to try, I'm not going to give up, and I will succeed. Great. All it takes is mindset. It's a literal this is a mental game. And a lot of you are struggling with that mindset, the mentality. And it has so much to do with your image of self, not what you actually see in the mirror, even though that matters. It's subconsciously how you feel about yourself, what you are carrying around energetically. What kind of guilt are you carrying around? What kind of shame? What kind of failure? What kind of negativity about who you are you carrying around? Because that is your image of self. And it's not until you're willing to let that shit go, release it, and time won't do it. Time will not do this for you. You have to sit there, process these things, face your fears. And it takes you following through. And if you need help with this, reach out. Greg@resultskillexcuses.com. I know y'all are hearing this shit. Are you going to follow through? Are you going to send that email? I don't care. I don't look at the beautiful thing about the Results Kill Excuses community is we're going to build each other up. We're not going to tear each other down, right? Sarcasm is actually not a good thing, and I struggle with that still too. I could be a sarcastic motherfucker. And I have to check that. I could be lighting people up all day long that are talking shit because I'm putting myself out there, but I don't. There's no need for it, right? It's being a role model. It's truly saying, you know, I want this. I know that people that talk shit are hurting, man. Jokers are fucking hurting, man. Their life is a joke, and they're hurting. But will you follow through? And what I was trying to say is, you know, in relationships, modern day, I've learned this, you know, that if you send too long of a text, it's like considered toxic. And yet I've had a lot of men. I think a lot of men have a lot of things to say. I think you have a lot of things to say. And I've gotten some really long emails from men. And I'm here to just tell you that it's safe. Please, like, get it all out. Send everything to me, man. I don't care how long it is. I'm not going to view you as toxic. We're not going to filter our connection through those lenses. It's objective. It's saying, look, you know, if you need to get some shit out, get it out. Reach out. If you're ready to put in some work, type in Results Kill Excuses into the App Store. Download the app, right? There's over a month, 5 weeks of self-discovery work. And it's challenging work. I'm getting feedback. It's good work, but it's challenging, man. You gotta, like, look in the mirror. And if you get stuck, even on some of those courses, reach out. Reach out with some questions. I want you to start, if you're on the app, right? Start some conversations in the community section. Let's step up. Let's follow through. Let's start to connect. And I'm seeing it here on the channel, but I want to see it in the app as well. And it takes me leading that. So I hold myself accountable to that. The cool thing that I'm cooking right now are 24, 72, and 7-day challenges, right? It will be paid content on the app, but I think it's going to be real transformational stuff. And I'm really excited to be launching that very, very, very soon. I'm also going to be launching a morning journal, right? Printed version of a morning journal that has 4 volumes throughout the year, 90 days each. And I think that's going to be really helpful for a lot of you to really start following through, focusing, setting intentions. So with that being said, I hope you're going to make this week the best week. I hope that you literally can stop each and every morning and really start to check the negativity, right? Start listening to positivity, right? Figure out what matters to you today and make it a non-negotiable. Follow through. Start doing things. If you do things, the thinking mind goes to rest. Give your thinking mind a rest, right? When you start doing, you start achieving, you start accomplishing, and you start stacking them results. You start winning. And when you start winning, that's what makes you feel proud of yourself. That's what gives you a sense of pride in a healthy way because you're putting in the work. And when you earn shit, when you do shit, ain't nobody gonna be able to tell you nothing. And no matter what they think, it doesn't matter because you've earned it. You've put in the work and you have a lot to be proud of when you do that. And I'm here for you. I'm cheering for you, right? And I just appreciate everyone that's stepping up. This message, it ain't popular shit. This is not popular. So many people are still living in denial. And they don't think that they need help, or they don't even feel that they're worthy of it if they did. And I'm here to tell you, those are lies. It's time to put in the work. It's time to get to work. I don't care what you do, mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical health. Pick one of those areas, start putting in a little work, 1% better every single day, and wait till you see who you become this time next year. Can you start thinking long range? Who do you think you become at the end of your life? You have to think long range, not just this week. Who do you become today? Who do you become this week? Who do you become by the end of the year? It's got to be a longer vision because you need to stay locked in. That's when you're going to go from self-destructive, self-sabotaging to self-mastery. Truly trusting yourself, being the best version of yourself. I would love to cheer you each and every step of your journey along that path. I love you guys. You know the drill. Results kill excuses, because if it was easy, it won't be worth it. Greg's out.